This is the pipeline data. I mean, not pipeline. This is a data path. You have instruction memory. You have register file. You have the ALU. It goes into your main memory or direct memory. And then if it's load word, you remember it has to go back into the register file. And what's it called? The execution of the code goes fetch, decode, execute, and repeat. So in MIPS, you have the instruction memory stage is your instruction fetch. Your register file is your decoding because you're figuring out what goes inside of each register or what's inside of them. Your ALU is doing your actual computation, so that's your execute. Then you have the memory stage, which is here, and your write back, which is you're going from main memory back into the register file for load word. So that's your writing back into the register file. So the laundry analogy is like probably the best thing to kind of understand it. So when you're doing laundry, you have 3 stages, right? You have when you're doing washing, when you're drying, and when you're folding, right? So if you think of a laundromat, right? So imagine this laundromat where you can only one person can be allowed into the laundromat to do their stuff, and the next person can't go until they're finished. So what you're gonna have is like person. Yo, we might need another marker, bro.
What? She's dying?
Somebody want to get the
I
marker?
called you to get a marker from
I thought my
I'm
marker
not
was...
borrowing anything from the library ever again.
Bro, you have to pay $280 for a shit.
No, you paid 20.
They reduced the charge to 20.
How?
Yeah,
They just fucking blessed it.
Bro, that's not blessed.
That is a blessing.
They
They
should
said
have given it.
I don't think
taken
if I ever have any late penalties, they're gonna allow me to waive it again. So I'm not fucking borrowing jack shit from them again. Right. That's ridiculous. I could have fucking bought a calculator.
with 20.
For that price.
Yeah. I would have just said. I should have
it's
just said
under
I
the-
lost it because they just charge you to replace it.
It's under the assumption that you're not returning it. That's why it's 280.
Yeah.
The reason why she reduced it is because
Yes, but if you lost it, then they only charge you for a
for the
replacement.
replacement fee.
The replacement, bro. I could buy it on Amazon
For like $70.
Okay, so this is the laundry analogy.
you only have calculators. I'm selling. Come on.
Let's
I
say
got
this is
a
the
bunch.
laundry. So you have person 1, and then he's gonna wash, then he's gonna dry, then he's gonna fold, right? And then the next person comes in, person 2. He can't start until this guy's done. So he now starts washing, drying, and then folding, right?
Wait, let me see.
And say this is like time, like this is 10
Wait,
o'clock,
say it again.
11 o'clock.
This is the same image.
Bro, I have a question.
No.
So wouldn't the second guy start washing as the first guy is drying?
That's when we go into the pipeline.
Yeah, this is
But I'm just trying to explain how inefficient this is.
Oh, go. Gotcha.
So imagine if the laundromat made you do this. Like you want to go into the laundromat, but because there was one person in there, now nobody can wash, right? And like from now till then, it's like 6 hours, right? And if I add a third person, it's gonna go on to 9 hours, right? So you're gonna have literally the number of people times the number of stages. It's super inefficient. But we know that once the washer is done being used, it's available for use. So what you have is person 2, he can start washing as soon as the washer becomes available. And then he can start drying when the dryer becomes available. And folding, he can fold. And then person 3 can do the same thing. And then now you have it going until, so 3 people before would have taken 9 hours, right?
Yeah.
But now this is going from 10 to 2, that's 5 hours. So it's extremely, like it's way more efficient,
Yeah.
right?
Say spend half the time.
So how it relates back to this is there are clocks in between here, right? So each thing takes a certain amount of time, and there's 2 ways you can kind of do it. Like let's say this takes like 20 seconds to do, this thing takes like 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 40 seconds, and so on, right? There's clocks in between here, right? That like after every step, you're kind of like paused. You don't go on to the next step until the clock tells you can move on, right? So what you could do, there's 2 ways to do it, right? You can either have it that every time like this is finished and the next one becomes available, you go immediately. right? And then it's like everything is kind of moving at its own pace then, right? Because this is gonna move faster than when this is moving to right back, right? You kind of see that, right? So you could do that, but then you have to make sure each clock is synced up to the time that it takes for the different processes individually. Like they're all different rates, right? So that you could do that, but more likely what you're gonna do is you're gonna say, okay, what's the longest process, right? Let's say this is also 30. So 40 is the longest process. The clock cycle is every 40 seconds. It's just easier to do because then you don't have to freaking worry about like making sure everything is like still synced up and everything, and there's not a delay somewhere, because certain things are going to speed up where other things are slowed down. So this one, it's 40 seconds. So guaranteed by the end of 40 seconds, all your instructions are done.
But is it the most?
Like it's way more efficient than the like that thing. So it's not like, I guess, the most efficient, but the other thing just requires you to always make sure your clock is like at the rate of the actual instruction. So you could do that. That she goes over in the presentation. That's one way to do it. So we're just gonna do it this way. So let's say each block represents 40 minutes now. Like these things, instead of hours, now they're 40-minute intervals, right? So first you have the instruction fetch stage, right? So IF, and then the next one is, and if we were to draw it out, let's say this is 20 minutes, right? Say this is our box. The instruction fetch is only half of the time, right? The rest of this time is just waiting, right? So now that's not really that important, but you should know the thing. So then the next stage is going to be the instruction decode. The next one is going to be execute. And then you have DM, direct memory, and then write back.
I'm just watching mine, honestly.
And then instead of persons, these are instructions, right? So then the next one is literally, now this one starts IF, ID, DX, DM, right back. And basically, you see how right now, like only 2 of the things are being used. So I'm gonna have to review that myself, but there's something about, so your peak efficiency, there's a formula for it with how fast it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, let me see.
Bought it? Oh, but you're not allowed to buy it for yourself. That's what happened last time when it broke. That's what it broke. Thank you. Time to get.
I don't know where it goes over it, but there's a formula to figure out how much it's time is actually saving, like how many actual cycles you're gonna have to go through, right? And so the thing is, when you have just like this is the first instruction running, only the instruction fetch is being used, right? The remaining stages are not being utilized, right? If we were to extend this out, this would be like over here you have right back over here. Instruction 2 is in the direct memory. The third instruction would be in the execute phase. The fourth one would be in the instruction decode phase. And the fifth one would be in the instruction fetch phase, right? So you just imagine ID, IF, and yeah. So you see how this is like at this stage, every stage is being utilized, right? That means you're running at full efficiency. So if you had like, let's say like 1,000 different instructions running, the bulk of your like architecture is gonna be running at full capacity like that, right? All your, like from this point forward, it's gonna be all filled up until it finishes. Like now, this one's gonna be in write back, this one's gonna be in direct memory, this one's gonna be in execute. Yeah, but this, when you're like using all the stages, that's full like efficiency, and these are considered like you're not fully efficient yet. And what do you call it? This is the wind up. I don't know how much of this is gonna actually be like you have to know, but I'm just doing.
Yeah, so that's full efficiency.
Like yeah, once the whole thing is like there is a formula that I'm not remembering that you figure out how many stages is gonna be the thing, right? So that's this, right?
Which one? The first one, second one.
So, and then as you're starting to get to full efficiency, you see how over here you're missing all the other ones besides structure and fetch. This one you're missing everything besides fetch and decode, and this one you're missing like just two of them. This is your wind up time, and your wind up is a little slow. And then you have you can imagine when you get to the end of it, this one is finished. This one becomes finished, right back, and eventually you just have like all
Everything
the
becomes full.
yeah everything stops. That's your wind down. I don't think she's gonna require you to know the vocab for that stuff exactly, but you
Good
just,
enough to write a paragraph in some bullshit.
I guess, yeah. When you're trying to figure out the time it takes for each instruction, so we did this in class. If you guys remember, she gave us like a table with the different amount of time each thing takes. You need to know what like each instruction is using. So if I told you add, load word, and give me another instruction, branch, let's say branch, just to have like every type. Let's say branch of equals, right? That's not a good spot to write it. But if we have these instructions, then when you're trying to add the times up for each instruction, even though it technically has to go through all of them, the actual time for each instruction is technically varying, right? So if we were to do this, right, you're gonna take, add has to go through the fetch, decode, execute, and that's it, right? So 10, 30, so that's gonna be 60. Right? Whatever units they give you, it's this one's 60. Load word goes through all of the stages. It's the only one that goes through all the stages like that. So you have 20, 30, 60.
I guess 60 again?
Huh?
I guess 60.
Because add goes through instruction memory, it goes through the register file, goes to the ALU to do the actual adding, and then it's done. Do you remember the data path? You add the two numbers and you're done. Like you go back into the. I think you do write. You don't write back. But that's 60. Then load word goes through everything. So you do 10, 50, 60, 100, 130. So this is 130. And
Is
then
that can you put the PPs after? Is it PS, right? PS. Yes.
50 seconds? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it's a unit for time.
Whatever unit it is, you'll put it there. Branch of equals, I forget exactly how she did it, but you get the concept of how to add it up. You have to know what stage each thing goes through, like all those instructions. Mainly, you just have to know R type, I type, and J type, how much time each of those take. And then as soon as you see an instruction, you're like, okay, is this R type? R type takes this amount of time. I type takes this amount of time and J type takes that amount of time. And what's it called? Like you don't need to know all the freaking MIPS instructions. You just need to know what type is it and then you know how much time each of them take.
How much is it for branch equals?
That's what I'm saying. I don't remember exactly how she did branch. Do you know where that one
These
was?
are always the same, like the add 460 and.
No, that guy used to do it.
Okay, so this is how they did it. So this is a lot better because this literally tells you how much it goes through each stage of the process through and which ones it's skipping.
No, they're both different.
So it
Add has a
literally,
right back. They know.
Is she gonna give us that, or we have to figure it out?
Oh yeah, Add does have a right back.
I think she gives you the table.
The time will be different though, right?
Or at least
whatever the time is.
Actually, she might not give you this table. She might give you the table, like this table. She's gonna give it to you. Well, actually, that's the same table. She's gonna give you a table probably of how long each stage takes, and you might have to calculate.
That's how you're gonna be asked, bro. Look.
That's what I'm trying to think. How could she ask a question? Because
How was she scared?
yeah, it's weird. Like I'm like, how can you ask a question
look
about
how
Should we
this?
check in the
Thompson's
textbook
pretty
for
much
some
asking.
pipeline questions?
She's just gonna be giving us the memory access, AOE, adding everything, and then register, and then you just have to add
just
it
gonna
towards
see
these
the-
two and all of those to load.
Yeah,
the
that's
actual-
okay. So that's what I think it is.
He's gonna feed out of
That
our
was
work.
pretty much guaranteed. I think
Okay, so
what
because
mine.
I'm confused. So it might be like what he got, where
Like
they
everything,
tell you how much the each stage is, like I just
Should I
explained,
just send it to you so you can show it?
Yeah, send it in
and then you have to calculate
Send it in
how much
bento.
each instruction takes, based on the time of each
That's all
one.
given though. It's gonna be just like.
This is given,
Yeah.
but you need to know
how-
which stages are going to be used and which ones aren't. So, and then we're going to go into hazards. Hazards will be on the final. You have to be able to explain them.
Quiz too.
Oh, it's on the quiz. That's what it was. Hey,
We gotta study for that quiz real quick.
This is the quiz.
Is it like I don't know,
Second
man.
question was like words.
I don't know if it's going to be 2 questions. I think it's going to be 1 question. It might be whichever one.
It might be from the textbook.
But thankfully, I didn't have to beg her for the pop quiz. She gave it anyways.
I was so upset, bro.
I think she told us in the week
Why?
one
She
we're
said
gonna.
you don't have to take it if you
I
don't
know. I
want
was
to.
finding my 57 though.
So you don't have to take it.
No, I have to take it now.
Oh, these are all the final topics?
No, because I already accepted
Final
the thing.
topics
And he's like, yeah,
pipeline calculations.
Oh,
She's
I
giving
see.
it a chance.
To be honest, bro, freaking people have been asking me for notes because of like the other notes I had were good.
Yeah.
I have not been taking notes. All this stuff is
It's like big, right?
no, it's like all the stuff are on presentations. So I'm just gonna figure like, but you actually took notes. That's pretty good. Okay, let's go over the hazards.
Pipeline hazard.
I think I know what you mean. So I'm gonna go over it.
Okay, so so she didn't go over like all the hazards. Like I was asking about structural hazards like today. I'm gonna have to look it up myself because it's not fully clear exactly what that means. Let me just see. So instructions set for pipeline must be.
Okay, how she's gonna ask, or a question that she's gonna ask for this, is she's gonna give you an instruction based off what I'm reading from my notes, and she's gonna ask you how long it takes to do this process.
For pipeline?
For pipeline. So I have one for our format, one for load word, one for branch review.
It's about time.
I didn't even text. I did.
Huh?
How do we?
You said 1:30.
We're always here.
No, I
Second floor.
Where have we ever been? Like this is the only place we ever are.
You loaded up the question,
What?
the final I just sent. Practice.
I'm gonna have to go.
That's how Thompson has it, bro.
No,
It's like,
they have a
I'm
video.
looking at it, it's like it's much more simpler.
We'll see.
We recorded it.
More straightforward.
Yeah.
We'll try getting some questions from our topic and
Okay. So I don't know exactly how structural hazards work, but from what I understand, it's like some architecture. It's like it doesn't go in this order. Like you see, you see how none of you guys are paying attention.
Because we're trying
I
to.
don't know if you're trying to talk to us or that.
Bro, I'm looking at
I
you.
think she's gonna
I was not
give
I'm
us.
looking at your.
I think she's gonna give us a table and say, how much time does it take to execute this?
Yeah. So we just have to. It's the same stuff we did with data path. We just have to memorize
Like the
them.
one that I just showed you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like it's just this. Like you give
Yeah,
it
but
time.
yeah. So we basically need to memorize that, and then she might give us like multiple instructions.
So the way Thompson asked us when
Okay,
I was doing
so-
it, it's like she gave us this time, and you just have to figure it out. Oh,
Yo,
it's like a shot.
trying to bump into
And
a
then
shot like that, bro?
it's like you got load.
Maybe I did that.
Yeah. So
How would you do that,
I want to
bro?
feel him, bro.
she's gonna
If you
give
fight him,
us
fight me, bro.
time to the table.
You guys are
And she's gonna ask us
stand up and
I was gonna tell them.
This is
Get out of here.
2022 right now.
Get out of here.
You guys can scoot over.
You identify as a woman?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, then I can't say anything about that.
Should have been here first.
Mahakar.
Sazak.
Dude, this guy's moved down.
Zak is
Move down.
big kid. What's good? What's good, bro? What's up? What's up, bro? What's up? What's
You
good?
guys can sit down.
Sit on top of each other.
Yo, so we're studying for 343 now.
Get out of here! Move! Stand up! Seriously. I'm gonna take some of your
Rest in peace.
All right.
Understanding it?
Okay.
They just pulled up.
Okay. So you're gonna have to look up structural hazard because I don't understand it fully. But basic breakdown is these stages that we're going through, the certain architectures don't follow the linear order like this. MIPS does, so we don't necessarily have to worry about it too much. But he was just saying that like certain architectures like CISC, they go like in a random order like this. Like it's weird shit, right? So what happens is you might be on direct memory because you went out of order, and then another one goes out of order and they're also gonna need direct memory access. So then two things need direct memory access, and then you're like, oh shit, one of them can only use it, right? So then you have a hazard, right? Hazard is like something is causing you to slow down or something because you can't run at full efficiency because
Okay. Here's the thing I would recommend you to do. Go over the exam questions specifically. She doesn't have exams. She does have
only a little
exam.
bit, only a couple of questions.
Yeah, the first one, this one, you don't have to know it in that big of a detail. All you gotta do is
I know it too much.
know how to calculate the time.
That's all you need to know.
I'm not getting out, bro. It's not a fire. I'm not even on fire. Fuck that.
I have to
that on fire. You look at on fire.
Bro's gonna get canceled.
we were thinking.
People are gonna.
Bro, I was in the gym one time working out.
Stay here. They should kick us out. Then.
Nah, fuck that.
No, it's never a gym. So we'll hold it or
He probably put a bomb somewhere, bro.
It was like the mini ones, like the smaller ones. It was just in the room. He didn't lift it properly.
You guys older than me?
Dumbass. Like, I give you $20. You do that shit.